was a busy month of April for IMSA news. We had everything from new cars being unveiled, a fan favorite driver making their return to the series, and uncertainty surrounding one of the staples on the IMSA grid. This is all of the IMSA news you need to know from April. Let's kick things off with one of the most anticipated stories that we had this past month. After spending the last 3 seasons in the TCR class of the Michelin Pilot Challenge, Robert Wickens made his GTD class debut at Long Beach. The Canadian was confirmed to be taking a step up to the WeatherTech Championship last fall in a new entry to the series grid in DXDT. Equipped on the Corvette that Wickens and teammate Tommy Milner were running was the new Bosch hand control system. A new system which had been implemented for 2 TCR races for Wickens last year. And this hand control system is a huge reason why Wickens was able to make that jump up to this GT3 machinery. Now, I'd say the weekend overall went pretty well for Wickens, as he was the fastest driver in second practice and had a strong run going in the race until the car sustained some damage due to contact and ultimately required a pit stop to repair. Now, one of the big questions coming out of the Long Beach weekend was who was going to be Wickens' teammate for the remainder of the season. After all, Tommy Milner has his own duties with Corvette and was only confirmed in the ride at Long Beach. Alec Udell, who has been competing in the DXDT entry for the Michelin Endurance Cup races this year, has since been confirmed as the driver who will be paired with Wickens for the remaining Sprint Cup rounds. The first race for that new pairing will be the next race on the calendar at Laguna Seca. Now, the lone IMSA race for the month of April was at Long Beach, and Porsche rolled into that race looking to keep their perfect start to the season going. Early on in the weekend, though, it was BMW who appeared to have the best outright pace of all of the GTP competitors. They paced practice, and after starting first and second and leading the opening stint of the race, things were looking very good for BMW. However, things went wrong for the team under one of the full course yellows. The 24 came in and made a pit stop under full course yellow, but lost a few seconds on their pit stop, while the 25 stayed out on track. So in the span of just this one full course yellow period, BMW went from running first and second to having one entry now behind both of the Porsches, and the other entry way at the back of the pack. They came down a couple of laps later in the full course yellow and were mired in the back of all of the GTP cars. I mean, we knew how critical track position was going to be at Long Beach, and in this span of a full course yellow period, BMW gave all of the track position to Porsche. Now the 24 and the 25 would be able to recover to a 3rd and a 5th place finish, but this was still overall a disappointing weekend for BMW, and a weekend that we thought that they would be on for maybe a 1-2 or at least being able to hold on to the victory. However, when BMW slipped, it was Porsche that was able to take advantage of it. Sure, they didn't have the 1-lap pace that BMW did, but they had strong enough race pace that they could hold off just about any of the competitors. The result was their 3rd win in as many races, with the number 7 Porsche Penske Motorsports 963 of Nick Tandy and Felipe Nasr starting the season 3 for 3. As they take the win in Long Beach. The number 6 Porsche did cross the line in second, with the number 24 BMW rebounding to finish out the podium. That win means that Porsche now carries their perfect season into Laguna Seca. Now, Lexus and Vasser Sullivan have been borderline dominant at Long Beach in recent years. They've won the past 3 years in a row at Long Beach and once again showed great pace this year. After sitting on the pole, the full season entry, the number 12, would lead the first 24 laps of the race. However, on their only pit stop of the race, this is ultimately where the race would be decided. Before the pit stops, the one-off GTD entry from AO Racing was duking it out with the number 27 Heart of Racing Aston Martin. Rexy would ultimately opt to stop 1 lap after the race-leading number 12 Vasser Sullivan Lexus. And when they made that pit stop, they pulled off a flawless one. They spent 3 less seconds on pit road than the 12, and they'd also jump ahead of the number 27 Aston Martin as well. From there, it was pretty smooth sailing for Rexy. They held off the field after a full course yellow for debris later on, and would go on to take their first win in the GTD class. Johnny Edgar and Lawrence Van Thor would pick up AO Racing's first GTD class win and also pick up wins in consecutive races for the team after they won in GTD Pro at Sebring. The full season number 12 Vassar Sullivan Lexus and the one-off number 89 Lexus would round out the podium. Again, it was one-off entries that showed that they were really strong once again at Long Beach for the second year in a row, and I think this is going to be a trend to keep an eye out for in future seasons races at Long Beach. BMW M Team RLL had a busy month of April, and it all kicked off early with a leadership change. Former NTT IndyCar Series president Jay Fry has joined Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing as its team president, replacing Steve Erickson. Now, this may not seem like a huge deal on the surface, but considering some of the other news that has surrounded RLL this month, this could prove to be a pretty big deal. Also coming to light in April was that the German manufacturer is speaking with other teams on the possibility of running their GTP IMSA program. Now, I don't think that this should be blown out of proportion here. After all, it is in German law that when a contract is up, there is a tendering process before the next one can be issued. So this is just all part of the process. And the manufacturer does this with everyone, from teams to drivers to sponsors, so this should come as no real surprise. However, why is it such a big deal this time around? This has happened. RLL has had to go through this before. Well, I think it's because the M Hybrid V8 has been performing very well as of late. They have 3 consecutive poles to start the season, and they also added that strong 1-2 finish at Indianapolis towards the end of last season. Let's be real here, the car has developed into a very strong competitor, and that's going to attract some additional attention. Now, I think that RLL has positioned themselves nicely to continue running this program, in my opinion. The addition of Fry is a good one with all of the experience that he brings in. While it's not IMSA related experience, it is IndyCar experience. And while RLL hasn't quite been able to convert these 3 consecutive pole positions into a win yet, they appear very close to doing so. Now, it is worth noting that some of the other teams who are rumored to be in the mix are Pratt Miller Motorsport and Chip Ganassi Racing. Regardless of who gets the contract, though, the 2 teams that don't ultimately get the contract could end up being on the grid, I guess, in a customer capacity with BMW. Last month, BMW kind of reopened the can of worms that they're open to exploring the possibility of having some customer cars on the grid, so maybe some more news on that to come over the summer. The very successful Mercedes-AMG GT4 is set for an upgrade in 2026. The car has been competing in IMSA since 2018, and since then, in every season that it's competed in, it's won either a Pilot Challenge or a VP Sports Car Challenge race. Now, the upgrades for the car mean that the homologation is going to be extended until 2029, so we're going to see these AMGs running in series like the Michelin Pilot Challenge, the VP Sports Car Challenge, and various other GT4 championships around the world. As for the actual changes to the car, there's very little being done, it seems like, but there are going to be some changes to the engine application to help with drivability, an updated front splitter and rear wing with a natural fiber reinforced plastic components, new rain lights for the car, revised rear shock absorbers, and all of this is at a very reasonable price by race car standards, as it comes in at just under 8,000 euros, which is about 9,000 USD. From one German manufacturer to another, and we're talking about Porsche, who have been one of the most successful teams in the sports car racing paddock in recent years, and a large part of that is due to their strong junior program that they have. This month, they announced their class of 2025 drivers for both their selected driver program as well as their junior driver program. The selected driver program boasts a strong stable and includes Loic Hartog, a 2024 Porsche Carrera Cup North America champion, Riley Dickinson, who's the 2023 Porsche Carrera Cup North America champion. In 2024, he won the Michelin Pilot Challenge Series opener at Daytona, as well as the finale at Road Atlanta, and then this year has made a successful WeatherTech Championship debut in a Porsche 911 GT3 R. Then you also have Tom Sargent. He was the 2023 Porsche Carrera Cup North America runner-up to Dickinson, and in 2025 made his WeatherTech Championship debut. He was second in class at the Rolex 2024 with Wright Motorsports. Now, in addition to these selected drivers, there are also some junior drivers that were announced. Those who are going to be competing in the Porsche Carrera Cup North America this year include Paul Bosque, Tyler Maxson, Wesley Slimp, Yves Baltas, and Zachary Vanier. Now, as part of being in the program, these junior drivers have access to longtime Porsche drivers like Patrick Long and Richard Westbrook for mentoring. And in addition, they also complete various sessions throughout the year in various areas of driver development. There's also a little bit of, I guess you'd call it friendly competition going on amongst them. They're competing every weekend for things like a free set of tires for the following race weekend, free race entries, and in the case of some exceptional performances, even the opportunity to take another step up the Porsche ladder in another higher tier series that Porsche races in. Now, past graduates from the program include the likes of Matt Campbell, Mathieu Jaminet, Kevin Estra, Julian Andlauer, and Lauren Heinrich. Finally, the Porsche Female Driver Program class was also announced, and there will be returning drivers Sabra Cook and Madeline Stewart, along with rookie Ashley Freeberg, competing under the banner in the Porsche Carrera Cup North America. As part of that program, drivers have 50% of their entry fees covered, and the highest finisher in each race gets a complimentary set of Yokohama tires. Also unveiled in April was the livery for the Genesis GMR 001, which will compete in the WEC starting next year. The two-tone orange and red design, which was unveiled on a full-scale model at the New York International Auto Show, was largely inspired by Korean heritage, and the colors represent the vibrant energy of the country. Now, the program is still set to make that debut in 2026, as I just mentioned, with an IMSA debut the following year in 2027. And it wasn't just the livery that was unveiled for this car, though. It was also confirmed that the first engine fire-up for the twin-turbo V8 engine was completed back in February. The 3.2-liter V8 twin-turbo engine, which actually shares 60% of the parts of their WRC engine, was successfully fired up and represents a big milestone for the brand. Of course, there are many more milestones to go in the car's development, but an engine fire-up and a livery unveil are pretty big ones, with the next big milestone expected to come later this summer when the car takes to the track for the first time. Man, it feels like we're just talking about a new or an updated car that's coming to the IMSA grid like every couple of months. And yes, we're already getting confirmation of an update that's coming to the grid in 2026. Porsche have announced an Evo update for the 911 GT3 R, which is set to start competition in IMSA next year. Now, this is the first major update to the car since it made its IMSA debut back in 2023. Now, despite the car's rough start to its life in IMSA with various performance issues, it has gone on to be very successful, winning races and championships in IMSA's GTD classes. Key highlights of the Evo updates include an enhanced focus on drivability, some improved aerodynamics, new software updates, as well as a refined steering system. Now, despite this car making its IMSA debut at the start of next season, it's actually already competed in its first competitive race. Recently at the 12 Hours of Spa, this new Evo spec car finished second, only losing out to its sister previous generation, Porsche. As I said, the full customer rollout will take place in 2026, so that means we'll be seeing it on the grid for the first time in IMSA at Daytona next year. Now, it's not the flashiest class on the IMSA grid, but the LMP2s play a very important role in IMSA. The current generation of LMP2s, though, are getting quite old and have actually featured on the IMSA grid since 2017. Now, there's been talk for years as to what the next generation of LMP2 might look like and the changes that might bring. Initially, it was supposed to be based on the same chassis that the current LMDH cars are using, but that concept has since been scrapped. Recently, though, we have more clarity as to what exactly the next steps are moving forward. Earlier this year, a tender was put out for the new powertrain supplier behind the car, and now there's a new tender being put out for chassis manufacturers. However, a key change for the chassis in LMP2 is that this time around there's only going to be 2 chassis offered. You'll recall with the last generation of LMP2 there were 4 chassis that were available. Now, both of these tenders do outline that the manufacturers need to be able to produce parts for these cars for at least 10 seasons, so we know that this next generation of LMP2 LMP2 is also going to be sticking around for quite a while. As for the timeline though, these tenders both outline that announcements will be made as to who the winners were for them in the middle of June. Adam Adelson has purchased Wright Motorsports from founder John Wright, who will continue to stay on with the team in an advisory role. Under Wright's leadership, this has been one of the most successful teams on the IMSA grid going back many years now. They've picked up multiple IMSA championships, they picked up class wins at the Rolex 24 and 12 Hours of Sebring, and they've turned into one of the most well-respected teams in the paddock. Also confirmed with the news was that Bob Viglione, who was the team manager, will be promoted to COO. But despite all of these changes, the team's focus has not changed at all. They are still very much focused on their customer programs for 2026 and beyond. So don't worry, we're going to continue to see Wright Motorsports compete in IMSA's various championships like the WeatherTech Championship, Pilot Challenge, Porsche Carrera Cup. They've had a presence in the VP Sports Car Challenge. They're not going anywhere. It should be interesting, however, to see how this team might change or evolve at all in these coming seasons as they continue to just build a strong resume in the sport. April was a very busy month in terms of IMSA news, and May looks to be no different with 2 races on the schedule. In those races, Meyer Shank Racing is looking to break through for their first win of the season and their first win since they've rejoined the WeatherTech Championship after having a year off. I made a video all about Meyer Shank Racing's storied history in IMSA, and you can check that out right here. Huge shout out to all the channel supporters. If you too want to support the show, you can head to patreon.com/offintheesses or click that join button below. Once again though, thanks for tuning in. I hope everyone has a great race weekend and doesn't go off in the S's.